and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari attributes signing of peace accord with Jonathan to peaceful elections in 2015. Representatives raise alarm over risks of fresh Ebola outbreak. Plus, Brazil presidential battle enters home stretch. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We'll begin the news tonight with President Muhammadu Buhari, who has said that the signing of the peace accord with former President Goodluck Jonathan in the build-up to the 2015 elections contributed hugely to the peaceful outcome of the polls. Receiving the National Peace Committee (NPC) led by Abdul Salami Abubakar, a former head of state, at State House, Buhari called on all the signatories to next year's election peace accord and their supporters to stand by its content and spirit. This was disclosed in a statement by Buhari spokesman Femi Adesina. In a related development, President Buhari has appealed to contestants and their media representatives to commit to issue-based campaigns and avoid insults and personal attacks as the election campaigns begin. Buhari's admonition comes a day after the official kickoff of election campaigns, according to the schedule laid out by the Independent National Electoral Commission. This is according to a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity titled 2023. President Buhari wants issue-based campaigns, urges political actors to shun personal attacks and incitements. In another development, President Buhari has asked Governor Samuel Otom to endeavor to acknowledge his administration's capital projects in Benue State. The president told Otom that rather than cast only aspersions, he should speak about the good deeds of the present government whenever he engages the media to criticize the APC-led administration. This, according to President Buhari, is what needs to be done in good faith to demonstrate a working democracy. Represented by the House Committee Chairman on Tertiary Education, Aminu Suleiman Goro, during the commissioning of the 4 high-impact projects at the Federal University of Agriculture in Makurdi, the President said his administration will continue to encourage entrepreneurship education in universities to help produce wealth creators, which requires the support of government at all levels. Speaking earlier, Governor Samuel Otom, who was represented at the commissioning ceremony by his Commissioner for Education, appealed to the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and the federal government to shift grounds in the ongoing negotiations and quickly resolve their issues so as to enable students resume academic activities, which have been suspended for about 7 months now. Elsewhere, President Buhari has inaugurated a new complex for the body of benches in Abuja. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State and other dignitaries were present at the event. The chairman of the body of benches, Wole Olanipekun, said the Rivers State government, under the leadership of Wike, had donated 500 million naira to the construction of the edifice. Also present at the event were the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukaya Deyariwola, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, among others. Meanwhile, President Buhari has signed the instrument of ratification for International Labour Organization ILO Convention number 190 on violence and harassment. The document is set to be deposited with the Director General of the organization by the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment. This was confirmed by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education Workshop on ILO Convention number 190 on violence and harassment and eliminating gender-based violence in the workplace for professional officers in the 3 northern geopolitical zones. She noted that Nigeria was the 4th country in Africa and the 8th in the world to ratify the convention. The AJU added that the ministry had already inserted prohibitions on violence and harassment, including sexual harassment, in the just concluded review exercise of the national labor bills. The permanent secretary stated that the ratification came with an enormous responsibility and reporting obligation for Nigeria. Away from that now, the federal government has approved 29.083 billion naira for projects in the Ministry of Works and Housing and Mines and Steel Development. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, confirmed this to State House correspondents after the weekly council meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari. According to Mohammed, 27.23 billion naira was approved to rehabilitate the 30-kilometer Idoani-Otuo Road and 1.85 billion naira to construct a 27-kilometer retaining wall for the Ebonyi Salt Lakes. He explained that the 27-kilometer retaining wall would contain the loss of raw salt from the salt lakes in Ebonyi State, saving at least $88 million spent yearly on salt importation. To legislative matters now, where the House of Representatives has raised the alarm over the possibility of the Ebola virus returning to Nigeria, urging the federal government to immediately activate preventive measures. Members of the House at the plenary today unanimously adopted a motion moved by one of them, Dachung Bagos, who warned that the virus might spread to Nigeria as other African countries had been recording Ebola cases. Bagos noted that the Ugandan health authorities on September 20, 2022 declared an outbreak of Ebola disease caused by the Sudan virus following laboratory confirmation of a patient from a village in Madudu sub-county, Mobende district, central Uganda. Still on the legislature now, the House of Representatives, led by Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila, met with members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities today. The meeting is geared towards ending the union's 7-month-long strike. Also in attendance were the ministry. Recall that in August, the union declared a total and indefinite extension of its industrial action, noting that the government has failed to satisfactorily meet its demands. To the judiciary now, where the Supreme Court has dismissed the suit challenging the authenticity of Adeleke's candidacy in the just concluded Osun governorship election. The suit was instituted by Dotun Babayemi, a former governorship aspirant of the People's Democratic Party in Osun State. The 5-man panel, led by Justice Amina Oji, gave the judgment on grounds that the apex court lacked jurisdiction to entertain the appeal, as the plaintiff filed his appeal out of time. In education, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, says the federal government has the capacity to resolve the lingering issues within just 2 days. ASU President Professor Emmanuel Adeleke, who spoke while featuring on a televised program, alleged that the Buhari-led government was not interested in meeting the demands of the union. He also criticized the Minister of Labor, Chris Ngige, for dragging the union to the National Industrial Court, while President Buhari and other government officials took class the quality of teaching and research to the students would receive could not be guaranteed. Still in education, the National Examinations Council has released the 2022 Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination results. NACO Registrar Professor Dantani Wushishi announced the results at the NECO headquarters in Minna, Niger State. Aside from the results, Wushishi said the council blacklisted 29 supervisors for their alleged involvement in various malpractice offenses. He also said 4 schools were recommended by derecognition for 2 years over consistent malpractices. Wushishi said the council recorded a decline in malpractice in the 2022 internal senior school certificate examinations as against other years. In politics, Independent National Electoral Commission today assured that it will monitor compliance with the limits on campaign spending by political parties under the Electoral Act. This is as the Commission said it will monitor compliance to ensure that parties shun abusive language likely to provoke a breach by the peace during the electioneering campaigns. The INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, made the National Peace Committee in Abuja. Yakubu noted that commitment to peaceful and issue-based electioneering should resonate beyond the 18-party chairman and presidential candidates. He advised political parties to abide by the letter and spirit of the peace accord, urging the parties to convey the message of peace to their candidates, members, and supporters across the country for compliance. Still in politics now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has called on Nigerians to vote correctly in the 2023 general election. Consequently, the Commission advised voters to follow the procedure for voting their preferred candidate or party correctly, or have such votes invalidated and likely to affect the overall outcome of the elections. The INEC Assistant Director, Planning and Programming in the Department of Voter Education, Dorothy Inyang, stated this during the final stage of the Voter Education Innovative Dragons competition in Abuja. According to Inyang, INEC was working hard to educate and enlighten the electorates on how to effectively participate in the electoral process. She also encouraged Nigerians to pay attention to manifestos of political parties and candidates for them to make informed decisions.
From the mundane to the critical issues that matter, engagement with stakeholders, the media play a critical role in ensuring a more effective public enlightenment on the provision of the Electoral Act 2022 in particular, and other aspects of the electoral process in general. Section 95, subsection 2 says, state apparatus, including the media, shall not be employed to the advantage or disadvantage of state apparatus, including the media, shall not be employed to the advantage or disadvantage of any political party or candidate.
Away from that, the Federal Commissioner, National Population Commission, Abia State, Nwanne Nwabwisi, has pleaded with the indigenous people of Biafra to enable the Southeast get accurate figures in the forthcoming 2023 census. Nwabwisi made the appeal during the Abia State Stakeholders Summit on the 2023 census held in Umuahia. He said IPOB's uncooperative attitude in the 2006 national census affected the people of Southeast badly and called for their cooperation this time. He said accurate census is a win for everybody. The commissioner added that IPOB was calling for the United Nations to help conduct would not be possible. He further called on stakeholders to appeal to their brothers who are IPOB members to equally cooperate for the good of all, adding that the Commission had taken all the necessary steps to give Nigeria accurate digital census in 2023. In another development, the Debt Management Office has said the federal government can reduce its dependence on borrowings to finance budget deficits by improving its revenue drive and Prioritizing Expenditure, Director General of the Office, Patience Onneha, who spoke during a presentation at an executive course on budgeting and fiscal responsibility organized by the Fiscal Responsibility Commission in Abuja, said the country had run deficit budgets for many decades, which made borrowings from local and external sources imperative. She advised the government to grow revenue, prioritize expenditure, and cut waste and leakages. Meanwhile, the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Felix Morka, today distanced the party from a letter accusing the APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu of breaching the agreement regarding the constitution of campaign council members. Early today, a purported party's presidential campaign council without the approval of the National Working Committee. Adamu demanded the immediate withdrawal of the Presidential Campaign Council list, warning that any sign of disarray in the party's ranks would undermine the spirit of the campaign and give an undue alarm to party followers across the country. But the APC spokesman in a statement said the letter did not emanate from Adamu, adding that the party will not be distracted by those he described as detractors. In the meantime, as campaigns officially commence for the 2023 general elections, presidential candidates have signed a peace accord in Abuja. The chairman of the National Peace Committee and former military head of state Abdul Salami Abubakar appealed to the 18 political parties, their presidential candidates and spokespersons to commit to issue-based campaigns. He observed that fake news and misinformation were already creating a toxic environment capable of threatening the peaceful conduct of the 2023 general elections. Members of the National Peace Committee at the program included Bishop Hassan Kuka, John Onayekan, John Momor, Aliko Dangote, Saad Abubakar, Inspector General of Police Usman Baba, among others. Some of the presidential candidates at the event included Labour Party's Peter Obi, People's Democratic Party's Atiku Abubakar, New Nigeria People's Party's Rabiu Kwankwaso, Omoyele Sowore of the African Action Congress. However, Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress was absent, but his running mate, Kashim Shettima, was at the event. On security matters now, the General Officer commanding the 3rd Division of the Nigerian Army in Jos, Ibrahim Ali, has warned its personnel against involvement in illegal arms deals. Ali gave the warning at the opening of arms and ammunition storeman refresher course at the base ordnance depot of the cantonment. He maintained that any personnel caught in the act would not be spared. Reports say about 30 participants drawn from various units and formations within the division were inaugurated for the course, which extends till the 4th of October. Away from that, Nigeria Immigration Service is planning to shut the doors against using foreign migrants from neighboring countries in next year's elections. Zonal coordinators and controllers of commands and formations at the service headquarters in Abuja. He was giving an operational briefing as part of preparatory activities for the forthcoming general elections in 2023. It reiterated the government's commitment to a free and fair electoral process for the 2023 general elections and charged heads of commands and formations across the country to upscale surveillance activities in all locations to ensure a successful election. Back here, Akwa Ibom State government will on Friday, September 30, commission the 18,000 capacity Eket Sports Stadium in Eket local government area, initiated and built by the administration of Governor Domi Manuel. Some unique features of the new stadium include artificial grass football pitch, tartan tracks, and car mark. The event would be preceded by a novelty football match between the Akwa United Football Club and Katsina United Football Club as part of the week-long active September 23, 1987 by former military leader Ibrahim Babangida. Accordingly, the Governor Bello Masari of Katsina State would be among the special guests of honor expected at the occasion. Still in Akwa Ibom now, 2 people have reportedly died today along Calabar Highway in an accident involving a minibus and a parked heavy-duty truck. The accident reportedly happened around 2 a.m. and the minibus driver who ran into the parked truck did not notice it in time to avoid the collision. A correspondent who was at the scene reports that the Nigerian Police Force and the Federal Road Safety Corps were notified as the accident had caused traffic diversion. Still to come in the news. Kwasi Kwarteng sticking to growth plan. Do stay with us. Former military ruler Musa Dadis Camara is going on trial over one of the country's worst massacres. Captain Camara returned from 12 years in exile to clear his name, which has been dragged through the mud. Reports say more than 150 people were killed and women and girls raped at a 2009 protest against military rule. Still in Africa, celebrated Zimbabwean author Sisi Dangarembwe has been found guilty of inciting violence by carrying placards at an anti-government protest 2 years ago. She has been convicted alongside her friend Julie Benz. Both women had carried placards calling for political reforms at the demonstration in Harare, which the authorities branded a breach of coronavirus protocols and an incitement to public violence. The magistrate today said the pictures of them protesting were shared on social media and could have provoked a breach of the peace by encouraging the general public to participate. Their sentence has not yet been announced. Meanwhile, rights groups say the case is part of an ongoing crackdown against government critics and activists. Elsewhere, at least 19 people have reportedly died and dozens of others hospitalized after consuming toxic alcohol from a roadside kiosk in northern Morocco. According to the health ministry officials, about 30 people were taken to hospital in critical condition, with 2 still in intensive care, and the death toll has risen to 19. The victims are thought to have consumed the toxic alcohol in the suspect's store, where investigators later found nearly 50 liters of the liquid. The Directorate General of National Security said in a statement that the police had arrested a 48-year-old suspect in connection. Meanwhile, Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera and the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken have presided over the signing of a Millennium Challenge Cooperation (MCC) compact worth $350 million. The Malawian Finance and Economic Affairs Minister STVNg and MCC CEO Alice Albright inked the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Memorandum of Understanding. The aid through the MCC, which assists developing nations meeting democratic benchmarks, will fund a major road network to connect. On the foreign scene, Brazil's deeply polarized election campaign has entered the home stretch today, with incumbent President Jair Bolsonaro and leftist rival Luiz da Silva squaring off in a final debate. The confrontation will happen in a late-night live broadcast on TV hours after a fresh opinion poll will signal voter intentions ahead of Sunday's first election round. Far-right Bolsonaro is seeking re-election after a controversial first term, but polls to date have shown him lagging behind ex-President Lula, who left office in 2010 with an unprecedented 87% approval rating. The incumbent is counting on his evangelical and business-centric support base, while Lula, who served 2 consecutive terms from 2003, is appealing to poor, minority, and anti-Bolsonaro voters. The debate, which is traditionally the most watched pre-electoral program in Brazil, will be the last chance for candidates to sway undecided voters who polls suggest number just 13% of the electorate. And still on the foreign scene, where Finland will close its border to Russian tourists from midnight. The government said the move is expected to lead to a significant drop in cross-border traffic. Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto told a news conference that entry for family visits as well as for work and studies will still be permitted. In a related development, the Kremlin will host a ceremony tomorrow at which agreements will be signed on the annexation of occupied Ukrainian territories to the Russian Federation. This was made known by President Vladimir Putin's spokesman, Dmitry Peskov. Peskov said Putin will deliver a speech and meet with Russian-backed leaders of the 4 occupied regions on the sidelines of the ceremony. According to reports, separatist leaders from the Kherson and Zaporizhia regions and the self-proclaimed Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics all traveled to Moscow following the announcement of poll results. Elsewhere, Hurricane Ian has left a path of destruction in southwest Florida, trapping people in flooded homes, damaging the roof of a hospital intensive care unit, and knocking out power to 2.5 million people. This as it dumped rain across the peninsula today. One of the strongest hurricanes to ever hit the United States threatened catastrophic flooding around the state. Ian's tropical storm force winds extended outward up to 415 miles, drenching much of Florida and the southeastern Atlantic coast. With no electricity and patchy cell phone coverage, many calls for help were not getting through, even as emergency crews soared through toppled trees to reach people in flooded homes. Business news: Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Kwasi Kwarteng, says he is sticking to the growth plan announced in his mini UK budget. The plan reportedly triggered a market turmoil, which the Bank of England recently stepped in to prevent the collapse of some pension funds. In a rare rebuke, the International Monetary Fund openly criticized the UK government over its plan for tax cuts. However, Kwarteng told reporters today that his priorities were keeping to the plan and lowering energy bills. His comments came after Prime Minister Liz Truss publicly insisted that the tax cuts outlined in the mini-budget were the right plan. Still in business, it has emerged that the US economy contracted an annualized 0.6% in the second quarter of 2022, matching the second estimate and confirming that the economy technically entered a recession, following a 1.6% drop in the first quarter of 2022. Private inventories and fixed investment were the main draggers in the second quarter. At the same time, an upward revision to consumer spending was affected by a downward revision to exports. Meanwhile, gross domestic product growth rate for 2021 revised higher to 5.9% compared to an initial 5.7%. In another development, Naira today fell significantly against the dollar at the parallel market 2 days after the Central Bank of Nigeria made its biggest interest rate hike in a bid to check inflation and defend the currency. The local unit depreciated from the 725 Naira to a dollar exchanged yesterday to trade at 735 Naira and above at the unauthorized market. This came less than 48 hours after political parties officially kicked off the 2023 general election campaigns in the country. Currency traders at Udi Street, Uyo, said they were buying the dollar at 730 Naira and selling at 735 Naira and above. In Abuja, traders at the Zone 4 area said they were exchanging the dollar at 735 Naira and selling at 737 Naira and above. At the international and exchange window, Naira fell slightly yesterday, depreciating 0.01% from 436 Naira it traded on Tuesday. Still to come in the news. Qatar rules out compulsory COVID-19 vaccination for World Cup fans. Do stay with us. Staying tuned. Now in health, the Minister of State for Agriculture, Mustafa Shehouri, has flagged up the nationwide anti-rabies vaccination exercise in the Duku local government area of Gombe State. Delivering his keynote address at the event, Shehouri explained that the exercise was part of activities commemorating the 2020 World Rabies Day, organized by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and States Ministries of Agriculture in collaboration with US Aid Breakthrough Action Nigeria. According to the minister, rabies remains a global threat and is responsible for the death of approximately 59,000 people in the world every year. He therefore advised dog owners to take them for the vaccination so that the disease will not get spread to the people. Still in health, the federal government has approved the siting of a teaching hospital in Taraba State. The teaching hospital to be sited at the Federal University in Wukari Local Government Council of the state was approved by President Muhammadu Buhari. In a letter signed on behalf of the Minister of Health, Dr. Sajay Hanire, by the Director of Health Teaching Hospital Division, Dr. Noah Andrew, the President gave the nod to the leadership of the institution to go ahead with the establishment of the health institution. The letter urged the leadership of the university to make sure that all the needed facilities, which include a conducive environment for the clinical training of paramedical students in medical and allied science, laboratories and hostels, as well as lecture theaters, are in place. Now in sports, Tyson Fury has returned to negotiations for the all-British heavyweight super fight with Anthony Joshua. However, Fury has set his rival another deadline and called for him to sign the contract for their showdown. Still in sports, Nigeria has been awarded the International Cricket Council Best Global Impact Rating Award for the tremendous achievement of the Nigeria Cricket Federation in using sports to promote youth and social development. This information was contained in the message delivered to the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dari, when top officials of the International Cricket Council visited him in his office in Abuja ahead of the ICC Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup Africa Division II qualifiers to be hosted at the Mushuda Biola National Stadium, Abuja, for tomorrow. Elated by the recognition of the strides made by the ICC, the minister appreciated them for their support and commended the Federation on their developmental efforts. Elsewhere, coronavirus vaccinations will not be mandatory for the million-plus fans going to the World Cup in Qatar this year. The Gulf state confirmed this via its health ministry. The ministry, however, said players and match officials may be forced into a secure bubble if COVID-19 cases took off again, with the threat of expulsion from the tournament for those who breach the secure environment. The 29-day tournament will be the first major global sporting event with fans since the eruption in December 2019 of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has since killed more than 6 million people. Qatari organizers have predicted that more than 1 million people will pack Doha for the matches, and football's governing body FIFA have said they want the event to be a sign that the world was getting over the pandemic. However, Qatar's health ministry warned in its World Cup guidelines that special measures would be ordered in the event of a worsening pandemic situation in the country, such as the emergence of a threatening new variant. On our entertainment news, a replica of an Aston Martin DB5 used for the stunts in James Bond blockbuster No Time to Die sold for nearly £3 million at auction. The auction house Christie's announced this. Proceeds from the sale, which fetched £2.92 million, will be donated to charity, along with receipts from the sale of 24 other lots auctioned at the special sale of items marking 60 years of 007. The replica comes fitted with imitation machine guns behind the headlights. A further 35 lots have been put up for auction online until October 5. Still on entertainment, Tiwa Savage has performed her new single titled Coco Fun, featuring the Amapiano type song with Major Lazer at the Paris Fashion Week's 8am live show. Tiwa Savage's performance at the Paris Fashion Week speaks on the notoriety of Afrobeat and the undoubted intersection between music and fashion. Recall that every year, many international artists perform at the 8am live fashion show hosted by the 8am French lingerie company. This year, Canadian rapper Tommy Genesis, South African musician Master KG, British singer Shy Girl, DJ Diplo, Major Lazer, Tiwa Savage, and French singer Benjamin Biolay all performed at the 8am's live show. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Do have a terrific night rest. Good night.